Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Data Dispatch. I hope you guys all had a wonderful weekend. Welcome back to the week. Let's talk about what we've seen in the market, especially for Palantir Technologies. Earnings is creeping up. It's only 1 week away, and we have Palantir consolidating at a very important price zone. We're going to be talking about what the possible gear up could be with volatility, and especially with the 3-year technical pattern that's being set up that is mostly bullish. However, the media is saying something different. In addition, we're going to be talking about what's happening in the market. Oil prices fell off a cliff after we had some events with geopolitical tensions, and you have NVDA now and Apple having a race to see who's going to be the first stock that will hit a $4 trillion market cap. Congratulations to Palantir for hitting a $100 billion market cap. So if you're a new or returning viewer, hit that like button, subscribe for daily videos, and of course, not a financial advisor. I'm collecting all the data and dispatching it to you. Now, pop it up on the screen here. On the 1-hour charts, you can see Palantir doing incredibly well, especially with earnings that's going to be coming up here. Remember, in a week, November 4th, post-market, right before the election, talk about volatility and a lot of things happening in the world at that time. Nonetheless, Palantir is sitting here at about $45. These are near all-time high record closes, doing very well in terms of consolidation and on the gear up and holding at these high levels. And people are starting to really talk about valuation. We've been talking about valuation all the time. We know Palantir is highly valued, one of the most highly valued stocks in the S&P 500. However, this is an exponential growth stock. That's what we're seeing right now. The disconnect from valuation is the reality. However, of course, that's a concern that we shouldn't throw out the window, but we keep beating the same nail with the hammer. Let's talk about what the setup possibly could be in terms of a rally that continues, possibly breaking over all-time highs, and especially with earnings that's going to be coming here in the next week. Now, for options trading, you have a lot of calls at the 45, and especially here at the 45.5 and at the 46, much higher than the puts. And if we go to what a lot of people are starting to look at, this is here from Sammy on Twitter, giving credit here, but talking about Palantir is possibly in a breakout to see a market trends towards $150 billion market cap in short order. Talking about stop complaining about valuations. Now, it's an exponential growth story, like we mentioned before. And what we're seeing here is literally a 3-year cup and handle pattern that is being set and placed out right now. Especially if we go back to 2021, right? Kind of after Palantir's IPO, sitting there at about these levels of the 30s. And we've seen that intraday high, historical high of about 45. This big cup and handle pattern is incredibly bullish, especially with earnings that's coming up here in just a week. And what we're seeing are some articles. And remember, before we get into that, earnings per share at 9 cents correlated with a revenue of $703 million, with 11 bullish earnings per share revisions in the last 90 days. But some articles talking about a Q3 preview. The path to $61 is possible. Now, this article goes into a lot, but basically talking about Palantir's forward revenue multiple is high compared to its peers. Despite similar revenue growth, its potential for profitability expansion and the growth behind Palantir, the growth story has been incredibly lucrative. This could justify this price target to $61, especially as Palantir, with an expansion on its growth from both a commercial and a governmental side of things, can help increase to accelerate its revenue through Q3 and help grow into its high valuation. And that's where we get into talking about this analysis here, the bull thesis and the risk, and what we're talking about. A lot of things in terms of governmental contracts, in terms of new contracts that are continuing to be set on the headlines. And now you have a lot of mainstream media and even Wall Street that is starting to gain more attention and pay closer attention to Palantir. So when we're looking at these earnings per share projections over the next 2 years, we can see that it is estimated to grow roughly in the low to mid 20s range, which is in line with different companies like competitors, ServiceNow, Datadog, Snowflake, a lot of the different AI competitors. But unlike that, comparing it to the earnings growth rates of other companies in the software sector of the S&P 500, that's where you can look at things in a different lens, that it is a majority largely differentiated from a lot of these different stocks within the S&P 500. And if you look at the media right here, Wall Street talking the same buy, sell the other versus Alphabet. They're talking about here Palantir has a 37 implied downside. And I see where they're coming from, that the risk for downside potential definitely is there, especially for people trying to get in during a very volatile time and during all-time highs. That's just, sometimes not the best, in my own opinion, the best time to get into some type of stocks. But holding, and for people that are looking to possibly get in on cheaper prices, there definitely could be times for corrections, especially at these all-time highs if we see any of the big flips in the market. But talking about here, what the media is really showing is talking about Palantir, and they're really talking about its competitive position, how other stocks are going to be coming in here, but talking about its valuation. You're going to be seeing that as the biggest justification from a bearish perspective. That's not going to go anywhere until we see some type of correction in Palantir. However, right now, with the volatilities and the way that the stars are aligning with the technical patterns, and especially looking at this right here with the 3-year cup and handle pattern, along with the anticipation in the media that continues to report positive contracts, good collaborations, and partnerships, that keeps me bullish for Palantir, possibly hitting $50. Could we see that gear up by the end of earnings if it's a positive earnings report, or possibly by the end of the year? What do you think about that down in the comments, that statement that it just made? Do you think we can see Palantir $50 here in the near future? Now, talking about the general market, we're seeing a little change here as a big tech earnings are set to be released, which is also going to bring more volatility into the market. We do have some big stocks like Ford. They actually slid about 6% after they provided full year guidance that was on the low end of its previous set range. You have the North Face parent here, VF Corp. Great results, jumped 23%, moving on winning sessions there. However, with the geopolitical tensions that we've seen, large drop in oil prices. Now, talking about that, big juggernauts in the tech fields, Meta Platforms, Microsoft, slated to report on Wednesday, and Apple following up on Thursday. We also have treasury yields that continue to rise a little bit, which is less incentivizing for big investors to get into the tech stocks, into more of these different type of more speculative type of volatile assets if treasury yields are continuing to rise. You're also going to have the economic big data pieces that are going to be monitoring job openings and labor turnover data due in the morning. Several of different reports that will bring insights into the strength on the job market, which of course has insights on what's going to be happening with the probability of those interest rate cuts. Stats on housing prices also, and consumer confidence is expected on Tuesday. So lots of big pieces of macroeconomic data points that will have an impact on that probability of how many interest rate cuts are we going to see by the end of the year. Remember, right now we're expecting at least 2 more 25 basis point cuts for a total of 50 basis point reduction, or 0.5% in that federal funds rate by the end of the year. That's the expectation. There's about a 93% probability, that's what's being priced on right now, that's going to happen. If we see any changes, we're going to have the Fed meeting in early November. Any changes, that's where we could see corrections in the market. Now, Apple competes with NVDA, an AI tech showdown right here. Interestingly enough, you have a Monday, Apple introduces a new 24-inch iMac desktop with an AI-focused M4 processor. Now, Apple is set to make history as the first company to hit $4 trillion market cap by 2025. However, NVIDIA is right on its heels. We've seen NVIDIA that has taken #1 for just a few, short trading sessions back. They're fighting to be really in the AI arms race in terms of who's going to be the most valued stock in the US stock market. And Apple is trying to deliver its AI tools to the European Union, trying to comply with all of their acts. And you can see here, NVIDIA remains on the heels for the quest of the $4 trillion market cap. Pretty insane to say one company is valued at $4 trillion. But at the end of the day, who do you think by the end of 2025 is going to be the leader? I think it's going to be Apple or NVIDIA. It would be interesting to see if NVIDIA takes #1. What do you think about all these things happening right now in the world? Do you think Palantir 50 bucks. I think that's obtainable for earnings. And what are your expectations for earnings? Peace out. Take care. I'll catch you guys later. Welcome back to the week. Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay tuned for videos.